policies. She believes that strategic human resource practice is a fundamental source of organizations' productivity. Please welcome Sister Jenan Abdullah.
Gentlemen, brothers and sisters, good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
I'm very happy to join you today in this program, and I'm very happy to listen to my sisters in their interesting and valuable speech. Islamophobia. When we talk about Islamophobia, it's not something new. It's not something that we are facing now. It's something that happened ages ago. And actually, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the first one who really faced Islamophobia. When he started to invite people to believe in Allah, and when he started to separate the message, his international message of Islam. He was humiliated, he was hurt, and he was broken-hearted because of that. And this continued to all his family and to all the followers, and until now to all Muslims. So this is something not new that we are only facing. But maybe especially women, because we wear the hijab, and when people see us, they identify us, and they classify us, and sometimes put us in a certain classification. That's true, but there are a lot of examples that we can learn from, and we can take them as role models to stand up for what we believe and what we think is our right. Today I'd like to talk about Lady Zainab, peace be upon her. And it's not something easy to talk about Sayyida Zainab, because when I was trying to prepare for this, I was unable to really to start, because I felt that I have so much that I want to share with you. Shall I talk about my own personal experience as a child I come from Bahrain, small village in Bahrain, that we used to celebrate Muharram and Safar, these very two special months. And we used to act and do play role about the orphans of Imam Hussein and his family, and how Sayyida Zainab used to take care of us. And then when I grew up, I used to take the role of Lady Zainab, and we used to move from one village to another to do these plays and this acting. Shall I talk about her patience, her strength, her political insights, her intellectual wisdom? There's a lot to talk about, but maybe I choose to talk about her role in separating the message of Islam, and how she shared the responsibility of doing so. Her famous sermon in the court of Yazid, she made the history at that time. She made the history when Yazid was trying to underestimate her and make fun of her and say, now we killed all the member of your family, what do you see? And I'm sure you remember what she said. She said, I saw only beauty. Everything that comes from Allah is beautiful. And that was a great lesson for me, that through my life I tried as much as I can to really remember that. And sometimes I cannot realize that someone, a human being, that just saw what she saw, can say this, can say, I saw only beauty. And I always try to explain this to my daughters, to share with them this. And I want them to live the experience that I lived as a young girl, that I want to share with them how we started to feel that Sayyida Zainab is our role model and superhero. I still remember when I was a little girl and I had some kind of nightmares, I wouldn't open my eyes, I would close my eyes and imagine that Sayyida Zainab came and helped me and saved me. And that's how we are attached to Sayyida Zainab salamullahi alayha. When Yazid was trying to really underestimate her and make her in weak situations, she stand up and she said, ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. Do not think of those who are killed for the cause of Allah as dead. No, my brothers, my families, all these people are not dead. They are alive with their Lord, they are alive with their Lord and receive sustenance from Him. And not only Sayyidah Zainab, when we talk about Sayyidah Zainab, we only remember what happened in Karbala. But actually, she was an important figure even before that. During her father's regime in Kufa, she used to give valuable lectures about Islam and Quran. From whom Muslim ladies took advice regarding questions about Islam, moral instructions, and general ethics. So that was her role. But unfortunately, we don't know much about her. What is our role? What about us? We all have hating the people about Sayyidah Zainab. Because what I think is happening is we are cocoon her to ourselves. She's not only for us. Because I believe in this time, lots of people who are going through very difficult time, who are suffering from mental health issues, who have suicidal thoughts, if they know about the story of Sayyidah Zainab, that will help them, that will inspire them. The story, and I think we should do more studies and more researches and more academic reports, if I can say, about her, because absolutely there isn't enough. Let's be courageous and share what we think to everybody and not worry about the judgmental opinions of others. I remember in 2010 when the political uprising started in my country, I found myself in the middle of that once of a sudden. Not because of anything, because my husband is a human activist, a human rights activist, and is a famous blogger. I found myself in the middle of that, risking my children, my family, my career. And at that time, I had to make choices. And I know that these choices will affect my children, my family, and my career. I remember lots of channels, international channels, BBC, Al Jazeera, name them. They wanted to interview me. And it was very critical and dangerous to do so. But I decided to speak about my husband and about all those prisoners. And I remember the BBC reporter asked me at that time, "Aren't you afraid?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he says, "Why are you doing this then?" I said, "I wouldn't feel myself if I am silent. It wouldn't be me if I'm silent." And I remember at that time, I went to travel to my brother who lives in Qatar, and he told me, Al Jazeera wants to interview you. And I did that, and my mom was very, very angry on me. And she said, "I don't think what you did was right. You have a mission. Your husband is in prison, and you have a mission now to take care of these kids." And I felt in a way, my mom is right in a way, but that was not me. I wouldn't take that choice. Now, soon, millions of believers will make their way to Karbala to relive the experience of Lady Zainab. They will walk long distance to reach Imam Hussein's grave. And by this opportunity, I'd like to invite all of you to take this opportunity to educate yourself and to inspire your minds, hearts, and souls, and all your life to read more about Sayyidah Zainab, to know more about her, to really consider her as an inspiration that will help you in so many aspects in your life. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Sister Jenan. Very touching, very sort of inspirational, and certainly the person that you chose to talk about, Sayyidah Zainab, is really an individual that was Husseinias, and particularly just the Shia circles, if you like, even the wider Muslim community perhaps have not heard of who Sayyida Zainab is. They know about Khadija and Fatima and other, but not certainly Sister Zainab. So putting Sayyida Zainab on the agenda, I think is very, very good. Thank you very much. And I think what you described also shows very clearly how the oppressors also understand the name Sayyida Zainab. If you recall, back in the early 80s, when Saddam was in power and he brutally killed thousands of people, one of the greatest scholars of that time, Sayyid Bakr Sadr, was martyred, and he also killed his sister, Sayyida Huda. And he particularly said at that time what Yazid did by leaving Zainab to propagate the message of Hussein and Karbala and how to stand and fight against oppression. So Saddam very well knew that what Sayyida Zainab did was to ignite a rebellion against Yazid and oppressors of that time and continuously throughout history. So that again shows that the role of women, how poignant, how particularly important it is that they can actually motivate their sons, their husbands, their brothers to move mountains, whilst men perhaps are not able to inspire in a similar manner. So thank you very much, sister, for putting that on the agenda. I open the floor for questions. Thank you. Brother has a question here, and I'd like to have some sisters also, because we have got more females also in the audience, to please raise their hand.
Very much. I'm very pleased.